I paid my way through college working various jobs. By August of 1976, as I turned 26, I had achieved the goal of acquiring a terminal degree in painting and a teaching job offer from a well-respected college. At the last minute, I turned the offer down. I was fully aware that I was choosing the hard way, but I also knew that above all, I wanted to stay completely true to myself. I concentrated on creating my artwork as time would allow each day, while working at a variety of odd jobs, everything from a bricklayer's helper to plumbing repair to teaching drawing to a few private students. By the time I was 29, 30 years old, my artwork was beginning to sell well enough that I was able to devote more and more time to my art. By the time I was 32, and that would be 1982, 1983, I had blessedly reached a somewhat stable financial position through the sale of my art. Over 50 years have passed since I came to live in Oxford, Mississippi. I have many fond memories from this time. As I painted today, I had been thinking about an evening that occurred this same time of the year when Barry, Hannah, and I gave a presentation at Square Books in December of 2009. We discussed our work, our friendship, and the art that I did for several of Barry's book covers, all published by the notable book publisher Seymour Lawrence. I decided to stop painting earlier than usual and drive to the square and revisit the scene of this, one of my favorite memories. Barry and I became friends in the late 1970s when he was visiting a mutual friend of ours in Oxford, and Barry was putting the final touches to his novel Ray. Music, as well as eyesight, has played a significant part in my creative life. For example, you will never have a completely successful work of art without also an engaging melody. I've learned more from studying the music of Mozart, for example, than I have from any of the visual artists. I am very selective about the tools I use to make my paintings. Only the finest quality pigments, brushes, and canvas are satisfactory for me. The photographs tucked in the edges of the mirror depict special events and people I have known. For the most part, my studio is private. After I start work, I am acutely focused. During the past 50 years, it's normal for me to work 10 or 12 hours a day, and this includes holidays. To date, I have created and sold well over 500 works of art. I'm aware and appreciative of my particular position. I truly believe I have a guardian angel, perhaps more than one, looking out for me. My house is located in the Oxford Historic District. Today, elegant, well-kept homes line the streets all the way to the courthouse square. In the fall of 1976, when I rented and moved into my home, the historic district did not exist. When it was originally built in 1895, my house had probably been considered, for the time, a fancy, modern home. But by the time I moved into the house in 1976, it had fallen into disrepair. Of course, it was not insulated. It had a leaking roof, and it was heated by open flame space heaters. The hot water heater was sitting out in an open room. The kitchen sink was a galvanized wash tub, the type that cows drink out of. All the water faucets inside the house were the kind you'd see normally on the outside of homes. I had limited resources, so I had to fix everything myself but that was okay with me. My rent was $90 a month, and I had a large studio space. After living there a couple of years, in about 1979, the house came up for sale. No one wanted it. So I sold as much of my work as I could to get the down payment. I bought my house for $15,000. In recent years, the square has evolved into a social center. But in the late 1980s, the courthouse was still surrounded by mostly privately owned law offices, pharmacies, and hardware stores. In 1989, Mayor John Leslie commissioned me to do a painting that would be owned by the city. The funds for the commission were coming from the city electric department, whose offices were contained at that time in the city hall. There were a number of people who objected to spending city money on a painting, and they complained about it to the mayor in person and in mail. There were protest letters published in the newspaper. I myself received a few harassing phone calls. It was a stressful situation. Mayor Leslie held his ground. The project went ahead and I made the painting. Today the city is proud to own it, and I am proud that it does. In 1981, a successful lawyer who had bought what had been an old 3-story hotel on the square offered me the second half of the 3rd floor as a studio. I thought, that's pretty cool. The first penthouse art studio in Oxford. So I traded the owner artwork for rent and stayed for about 7 years. Through the years, I've created a number of paintings depicting various elements of the Oxford town square. Some of the things depicted are still here, others long gone. It's a comforting feeling, in a way, to know they still exist in my paintings. Sometime during the year of 1994, I was visited in my studio by the surgeon, Dr. Beckett Howarth. He commissioned me to do a painting of square books. His intention was to give the painting to his son as a Christmas present. I neglected to mention to Dr. Howarth that his commission was placed in a line with my other commissions. 2 days before Christmas 1994, there was a knock at my studio door, and there was Dr. Howarth. A little embarrassed, I explained to him that I paint commissions in the order that I received them, and that I would not get to his until sometime in 1995. Well then, he said, I'll see you the same time next year. And I did. And that time the painting was ready for him. In December of 2009, writer Barry Hannah and I were asked to give a joint presentation during an event at Square Books. For that evening's program, Barry planned to read from his latest work. I was asked to discuss my paintings used on his books. By the time I arrived, a large crowd had gathered for the event. From the sidewalk, I could hear Tate's band finishing up.
Comes out of nowhere. When you climb, you can see anything.
I had known Tate for several years, and he had often visited my studio. In 2006, when his band was recording a new CD, he asked me if I had any art he could use for the cover. We chose my painting of a reconnaissance plane for the case, and my painting of toy cap guns for the CD. We thought it was interesting because the cap guns were revolvers and the CD would revolve. I made my way through the crowd and took a seat by Susan Hannah, and I didn't know what to expect that night. I hadn't seen Barry in a while. I knew he had been dealing with some very serious health issues. A public reading had to be challenging for him. But when Barry read, he captured the full attention of the audience. They listened, they laughed, they loved him. Then Barry invited me to the podium. Nothing had been planned. I was asked to do it, and I showed up. Any questions about art? Visual art.
How did you choose the covers? How you happen to choose certain pictures for each cover, right?
Okay. I was going to tell how Seymour Lawrence came into the picture. And you know, it's surprising how few people know who Seymour Lawrence is. One of the great publishers of the 20th century. People like Richard Brodigan, who no one seems to remember anymore, but a great writer, and you know, everybody from Jim Harrison to the top of he had the top-notch writers. You introduced him to me, you and Susan, and he was an art collector. And he was concentrating on I don't know what school it is, but it's Dove, O'Keeffe, and he started collecting my book.
Did it seem to have anything to do with your piece showing on the Seinfeld show?
My piece on Seinfeld?
No, your thing was hanging during a Seinfeld episode.
Did you see that?
No. I was told about it, and I don't know, that's when...
Oh, that's
when Seymour was around, when he was about town. He loved Oxford, you know.
Yeah, I know. And he moved to Oxford.
Yeah.
And he died because he danced too hard.
Well, he claimed that.
Yeah, right.
And that's true. That's
Okay.
true. That's what he told me. He said he lost his foot. Things went downhill after that.
Right, it's pretty true.
Yeah. So he started buying my paintings, and he commissioned me to do the first book, which was Bats Out of Hell, and he bought the painting. And that's how it all started, Tate. And we just, you know, they would say we want to do Ray, and I would suggest ideas, and the art director and I worked together on that.
So would you say you consider your artwork for these covers more translations of Barry's work or representations of your own ideas of Barry's work?
Both. I wanted to illustrate Barry's, not necessarily a scene from a story, but I wanted to get the essence of what Barry was doing.
I've known Glennray since about 78. We found the same things funny. I can't paint a lick, and if I could, I would do much of what Glennray did on the matter of children's imaginations. That appeals to me anyway. So our imaginations coincided. It was quite easy. It was the easiest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, it was an easy, fast friendship that we did.
Yeah.
So how much collaboration was there between you two?
Not much at all. I mean, even then, Glennray had his act together so much. He's the neatest guy I've ever met in my life, which is spooky. But, you know, artists are ready, and they have to be, with different film clips. Back then it was film that you sent off for them to shop, right?
Yeah.
And as it is.
Photographic film.
Can you talk about firecrackers for a minute?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Barry and I both realized that we were both dealing with very contemporary subject matter, and we wanted to do something that had not been done in literature for Barry and in painting for me. And Barry came up with the term once that we were doing something called deep pop. And I think that's a pretty good description. The Screaming Rebel rocket, bottle rocket, that I used on the first jacket, 3 of them. To me, it was like you read a sentence of Barry's, and it's like lighting a bottle rocket. It's like something that you light, and it makes a display every single sentence. And so there's a double meaning to the firecrackers. I mean, the firecracker can certainly be a toy, an entertainment, but it can also be used as a weapon. You know, you could aim a bottle rocket at somebody, which we often did as kids, have wars with these things. So it's two things. It's something playful and something dangerous. Depends on the person using it, what they want to do with it. And that's why I'm using those firecrackers. They're metaphorical to me.
How long did it take you to paint the marbles, the bowl with the marbles?
Oh, with the marbles. If I had Photoshop experience, a lot less time. I probably worked a couple of months on that. That's from, setting up the still life, drawing, changing, everything.
They taught something at Clinton High School called industrial arts.
You had that.
I always thought it was a hilarious term.
Industrial
And
art.
did you have it?
Well, I had one art class in high school, and we built a car.
There you go. See, that's the arts.
industrial arts. There you
That's
go.
industrial arts. That's
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah, and he showed us some slides of Vermeer once of his work, and he mentioned that Vermeer was in this one, and Vermeer
Right.
long hair, and I was trying to grow my hair out in high school, and he said, "Eat your heart out, Glennray."
But did you profit from any high school experiences as a painter? Nothing. Right.
Did you?
No.
I dug out a lot of the studies that I did for those jackets, and some of them are on display down at Southside. Okay, anything else?
What's the cover of Ray?
Ray. This is a detail of a painting that turned into a three-piece painting, a triptych.
Okay.
And it actually sold to somebody in California. But yeah, knowing Barry all these years has been just a treat for me. I remember one time we went fishing early in our friendship. We were talking philosophical things, aesthetics, and we didn't know it, but our voices were carrying on top of the water down to a house, which was about maybe from here to the city hall. And there was a man who was there listening to us talk. This was a long time ago, but we were getting ready to leave, and we walked past his house, and he said, "Hey, you guys." Yeah. He said, "You guys are crazy." And Barry very quickly turned back to him and he said, "Thank you." That was a good one. The firework worked well, worked just perfectly well with the books. And I paint with oil. Everything is oil on canvas, usually.
Has that changed through the century? I mean,
I think, as far as I can tell, I'm doing exactly the technique that Vermeer used.
Okay.
I remember going to New York and looking at the Vermeers in the Met, in the Frick, and with a magnifying glass, trying to dissect those things for hours, and the guards would be on their walkie-talkie back to the office saying, "Yeah, now he's got a magnifying glass." And I could see his initial draw. I could see the layering of the paint, and then I'd come on back to Mississippi and give it a shot myself. All right, and so we're doing the same thing. Now, though, they've got this Photoshop. which may change things after 400, 500 years.
Have you given up on music?
I haven't given up on music.
I went to a dance at his house one night, and he had his old high school band together.
I'm into rock and roll now.
I know. You were then?
I know. About 10 years now. I took a vacation from about 1973 to about 2000. Now I'm in it deep.
What brought you back?
The rock and roll band I played in as a teenager got back together for the 30-year high school class reunion. And I had not held a guitar since I was 25 years. We were a cover band, not original. And so we played Rolling Stones, The Byrds, and I had to learn that whole thing in 2.5 months and how to play the guitar again. We pulled it off too. Didn't we, Mary?
Well,
I saw you dance. Okay, I thought my wife would be, you know. But when I came back and I just found myself starting to play the guitar at night when I'd stopped painting, and then started writing music, and I now have composed and recorded an entire album.
wow.
Plug it, what is it?
Oh, I haven't shopped it around yet.
Who's gonna do the cover?
I've already got something worked out.
How old were you when you started painting?
Long time. I didn't have to choose a career, put it that way, to do, because I'm able to go to the studio and paint every day, all day, as long as I want, and have been able to do that for a long time. And I count my blessings, I assure you.
How much did recognition from Barry's covers bring to your career?
It helped in many ways. The name recognition, reviewers that review books, though, they never mention the art. Just notice that.
The art.
Yeah, they never mention it.
No, they don't.
Barry, anything else you want to add?
No,
Okay. And I appreciate being here.
At the time, no one knew that this would be Barry's last public appearance. And it had been a wonderful night. I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to discuss our art and revisit the years of our friendship.
Thanks for listening, and you're a joy, and best of the season.